Hello, Goshen Theater friends, Goshen Theater Drama Club members, fans, friends, and family. Welcome to Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks, episode 14. We have
Wow.
passed the point of a British television series season plus Christmas specials. Like, we're chugging toward 1980s sitcom season, like
Yeah.
87 episodes.
Currently in Netflix season length.
Yes. So Netflix, if you're watching, pitch a weekly
We're
program
ready.
featuring illustrious regional theater and New York City actors discussing whatever they want. Yay! Today's episode is dedicated to the most profitable Broadway shows that have ever run. We are calculating this in a whole new way. I've never seen a list about this before, but we are calculating this based on the initial investment in the Broadway show and how much money it made in its Broadway run. So there's going to be a little bit of math today. And at the end, we will crown the most profitable Broadway show in Broadway history. Very exciting. We are not including Broadway revivals or, we'll include a Broadway revival by itself, but not its initial run plus. Like, and every production is considered on its own. No tours and no regional theater productions. Nothing. This is just the Broadway run. Also, not the West End. So just Broadway. So that's how we're getting to these amazing answers today. The burning questions.
Viewers after insulting their season lengths and not using West End statistics.
Well, Americans are banned from the US right now, so Britain is banned from this episode of Table Talk.
Yeah.
So there. It's equivalent.
Absolutely.
For those of you tuning in for the first time, welcome. The format of the show is this. We'll start with either your questions or some hot takes on the theater scene, and then we move into the topic and we discuss the topic. Today, I am joined by the amazing Catherine Scarlett Barnes. Hello, Katie.
Hello, friends.
How are you?
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm here at work.
That's good.
It's very exciting. Also joining us today is Paul Margaret Regano.
That's absolutely correct. How did you know? I too. You all right?
Our regular viewers may notice that Miss Molly is not with us today. She is actually a successful actor and is in a show right now. So she is rehearsing Into the Woods, where she's playing Little Red. So slap on a face mask, grab a gallon of hand sanitizer, and head on out to see her in Into the Woods, which opens week after next.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I am excited for her to play Little Red. I think she's going to be awesome. So today we're starting with our hot takes. Today's hot take, now this is piping hot. Today we are going to discuss, panel, what is your least favorite show tune? Oh, Katie's dips out. There she's gone.
I meant to hit my mute button. Did you know that the camera is right next to it? Just like it is every week?
I just thought it was such a controversial topic that you were quitting.
Just like the older kids in camp just be like, nah.
No offense. So we'll start with Katie. Katie, what's your least favorite show tune?
Well, I don't know that there's really a specific, but I would say anything from Cats that isn't like Memory. Not my favorite at all.
Wow, giving Memory the exception on that one. That is, wow.
Controversial.
Anything Jellicle.
Any of it. It's just, I just don't care about that show at all. And I'm a cat person, y'all. Do I?
Even the Battle of the Peaks and the Pollicles?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm good without it. It's not like life-changing for me.
Do you know where the term Jellicle Cat actually came from?
No idea. School me.
It is semi-satirical, made up by T.S. Eliot to make fun of how the British upper class spoke. It is an over-exaggerated way of pronouncing "dear little cats," "dear little cats." That's where it came from.
Nice.
I love that. Still hate that song, but love it.
Good.
Paul, what about you?
Yes, moving on.
If we're going controversial, this is hard. I have a lot of I mean, like, there's like my brain when I first heard the question, my brain went right to, and I know that this is gonna be a little, I don't know. I think this is gonna split the room a little bit, but my brain went right to Seasons of Love. Because it is so overdone.
It
And
does feature a Bergano third though.
it does. If you don't know about the Bergano third, now you know.
I don't. What is it?
It's
So-
something Amber and I made.
We made it up.
Oh, good, good, good.
We'll explain
So-
it to you.
Do it, but at a different time.
We'll all let Paul finish his hot take.
Okay.
Then we'll tell you about
Yeah.
the Bergano third.
I guess I have to go with my gut. There are a lot of different songs throughout in Broadway history that I've been like, here are reasons why I don't think that's a good song, or it's a poorly written song, or I'm annoyed by how overdone that song is. But I think I have to go with Seasons of Love for number one. If I never hear it again, it'll be too soon. That's my hot take. I don't even think, like, as far as like poorly written musical theater songs, I don't think it's at the top of the list. But it's just way too played out.
Yeah, I hear you. So Seasons of Love, Katie, is a song that's in a major key, but it ends on a minor chord. So in music theory, if a song is in a minor key and ends on a major chord, it's called a Picardy third. And I emailed Paul or I Facebook messaged Paul and I said, Paul, what is it called when a song is in a major key and it ends in a minor, like in a minor chord in the same key? And we decided that it's called a Bergano third because we discovered it. It's ours. I think I'm going to
You all should write a dissertation and like get credit for it.
I mean, you just heard it. That was, I mean,
Yep, there it is. That's the whole dissertation. Masters,
Good luck.
please. So I love that. Mine has a swear word in it. So I'm gonna paraphrase. There's a song in Spring Awakening called "The B Word of Living," and I think it's the dumbest song I've ever heard in my life. The lyrics don't scan. You got people saying a swear word like "eh." I said a swear word. Eh. I find it very annoying. And I saw it, I heard it for the first time, I think, on the Tonys. And I was like, oh, Spring Awakening. I have been excited about this show. Can't wait. And then they sang that song. I was like, this is not for me.
it was, and that was like they did a little medley, and I think they opened with that one.
Yeah.
Weird. Oh no. I think they opened with Lea Michele doing "Mama Who Bore Me," and then went into it. So,
Yeah. So that was even more of a downshift because that song was so good. I was like, oh, this is great. And then they were like, yeah, swear word song.
1890s Germany, but teen angst from
Hey.
the early deal.
I hated it. I still hate it. And it doesn't sit in the melody well either. The way it sits in the melody bothers me. Na 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 na. Blech. It's no de Maupassant's candor once caused her dismay.
The theater lyric.
Yes, if there is a catchphrase for Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks. It is that lyric.
Right? Good.
It's because we've brought it up so often that it should be a catchphrase.
We're really killing this marketing to young people. Bring up to song.
You know what children love? A little night music. Anywho, so today's episode topic, we'll get Molly's hot take on her least favorite show tune, but Molly doesn't like to rock the boat and she doesn't like least favorite things. So we'll assume that her least favorite show tune is not having to say a least favorite show tune. So today we are going to be discussing the most profitable Broadway musicals in Broadway history. And we're not talking like the ones that made the most money, because if someone invested $75 million in a show and it made $65 million, even though that's a lot of money, you're still losing $10 million. So that is what we are discussing today. I have not actually seen this analyzed previous to this. So this will be really exciting. And some of these shows are still open, so they have the potential to rock the boat. So the way that I arrived at this list, I went through the list of the top 20, and I think we're going to do 18 or 19, the top 20 Broadway musicals for how much they made in their Broadway run. So we'll start with the number one show. It is The Lion King.
What, 8,000%? 800%? 800%, right?
10 million. 8,251. We're going to get this. 556, 700 equals. No, that can't be right. Should we ask Alexa?
Ask Alaska. Alexa.
Wait, is that 8,000%? So what is the percent of return on that $10 million investment?
Oh no, see, now you want me to do percentages. That's not going to happen without a calculator.
Okay, well, it's a lot.
Y'all, we are artists, not mathematicians.
I can't wait for all this to end up on the cutting room floor.
So was it 800.00?
Yeah.
So that's 80,000%. And that's some math.
86?
Yes, that's the
I thought-
debut year. Oh, wait.
Wait a second.
No, wait. Wait a moment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Phantom is almost exactly as old as I am.
Phantom, 88.
Yeah.
So I'm wrong. First was Lion King. We're going to edit all of this out. So net adjusted U.S. gross box office for the Broadway run only on Lion King is not $8 billion. This is the worst table talk that we've ever done. By far. By far. That's hilarious.
I'm now seeing.
Yes. It is 1,657. Yeah, I was looking at the franchise. 1,657,407. Wait, $1,657,407,012 is Lion King's figure.
That's $166 for their initial investment.
So 166. So they made 166 times their initial investment. So that's much different. So next on the list is actually Wicked, believe it or not. So Wicked's initial investment is pretty standard for now, but was a lot of money then. The initial investment in Wicked was $14 million. And that is a crazy amount of money. They've had 6,728 performances on Broadway. But the amount of money that they have made, their adjusted gross box office is $1,345,482,298.
Okay.
That's an episode of math. So the thing that's crazy to me, if we're just going by Broadway run, these are both adapted stories with a lore, and they have made a crazy amount of money. And obviously, Lion King has had tours, Wicked's had tours. Like, it's nuts. And they spent a lot of money to bring these familiar things to you in a new, glossy, exciting way. I think that is fascinating. And in fact, the top five, four of them are adaptations of other material. So I think there's something to be said for the success of the familiar here.
Well, yeah. Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I have a lot of feelings about that too, about the art of adaptation in musical theater and how it is looked down upon unjustly, unduly.
Yeah.
But if that's a conversation for today's episode.
So how many dollars did the investors make on each dollar invested in their 14 million?
1.34 billion was what they made.
Mm-hmm.
Divided by 14 million comes out to $95 per dollar that they invested.
So that's doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. It is not nearly as profitable per dollar invested as Lion King, which is interesting.
I mean, it's a few years younger than Lion King. Not much, but a few.
Yeah.
Also, Amber, you were right about 1986. It opened on the West End in 1986.
Sorry about that.
For Phantom, that is. Sorry.
Yes, we got it. So next on the list, I think we all know, is Phantom of the Opera.
So, I thought you had skipped past Phantom. All right, great. This is going well.
Yeah, I know. I'm the worst. Don't worry about it. So there's a lot going on at Goshen Theater this week. So
Our juju's off because Molly's not here. She doesn't balance us as well.
Together.
oh my gosh. So Phantom's initial investment was it seems small now, but it was a staggering amount of money at the time. It was $8 million that they invested in the Broadway run. This does not include the initial investment on the West End. So this is just what they spent to bring it to Broadway, $8 million, with largely a separate set of investors, I might add. So what it has made right now, as of today, $1,241,017,579, which it has been running a very long time. Comparatively, 13,264 performances. So per performance, it hasn't made as much money as the others. So traditionally, it's not selling as many tickets, but
it is so, and this is something that Stomp has done incredibly well also. They are able to not make as much per show in New York because that is, in essence, the flagship store kind of. It is still the longest running hit Broadway musical. It is, and that sells tour tickets, which makes them money, and
right.
merchandising. Very interesting. They can also, they've recouped their initial investment, 50-fold or whatever
In the 80s.
Right. So they can afford to have, half empty houses and still, during the off season at least, half empty houses and still be making money overall on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's our figure here? How much have those investors made per dollar spent?
Per dollar spent, $155.13.
That is not quite as profitable as Lion King, but it's still better than Wicked, which is very surprising. I think another way to calculate all of this, which would be fun, is by most popular, which would be dollars made per performance, long-term popularity.
I'd be.
Yeah, absolutely. So next is, now this one is so interesting to me. This is the Broadway revival of Chicago that opened at 54 and was of like a very small production. I don't believe, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe they had an out-of-town tryout. I think they had a smaller production in New York and then moved it to a larger
Right.
venue.
It started in as an encores production, which is why, you know, it's set up the way it is with the band on stage and all that. Because encores, for those who don't know, is a series in New York. They bring back musicals, often oftentimes they're doing more obscure shows, more forgotten shows. They did Violet and Merrily We Roll Along a few years back with Lin. Why they're able to get, and Sutton Foster and Anyone Can Whistle. They do these really fun things. They just did Mac and Mabel. It's incredible. Anyway, the reason that they're able to do this is because they just do the show for 3 days or something like that. They rehearse it very quickly, throw it up, and it's started as a concert series. And the big joke now, you know, in the theater world is that, you know, imagine that this envelope is my encore script, and that the opening number of every encore's concert now is and that they pretty much get rid of the script pretty quickly. Now they're mostly memorized, they're partially staged, they have dance numbers. So they're kind of putting up a small revival very quickly, doing it for you know, a few audiences, and then it's gone. So Chicago started that way, and that's why it is what I believe to be, I think that's going to be our winner today, because it transferred from this very small, throw it up quickly kind of situation, and then transferred to Broadway. Didn't take a lot of money to move it over to Broadway. Also, Encores, it gets a lot of their money from subscribers. So the initial investment for that production probably was lower. That's my guess right now.
It's a good
That's
guess.
where I.
It's a good guess. So $2.5 million was the initial investment, which is nothing. Nothing. And it has made to present, let's see here, number 4 on the list. It has made, and there's a big gap between this and the next highest up, $656,495,931 on Broadway.
Chicago has made $262.40 for every dollar invested.
Oh, that's pretty good. Pretty good. It is definitely our most profitable musical so far. Next one is Book of Mormon. Now, Book of Mormon's been running since 2011. It's had 3,642 performances. Of this top 5, I think it has been running the smallest amount. Because Chicago, this is not Chicago's initial run. So the initial Broadway run of Chicago was all under 1,000 performances. So it did okay, but it did not run for the length of time that this revival has run. So Book of Mormon, by far, I think, is the least number of performances. The initial investment in Book of Mormon was $11.4 million, which that's kind of Broadway standard right now. So that's pretty good. It's a pretty good initial investment, especially for a small story like Book of Mormon, but that's a lot of locations. This has not closed. To date, it has made $644,811,371 in ticket sales. It is our first original story in the bunch. There is an argument that it is based on or inspired by the title book. It is not. It is not an adaptation. It's an original story centering on that topic. Hot take for next week. So I think Book of Mormon is a unique case.
I like.
What?
I said adaptations next week. Is that what we're talking about? I'm here for that.
Ooh, yes. Adaptations. I'm putting it. Oh, see, I just had an idea. Just had an idea. We'll get there at the end. So for Book of Mormon, what is our dollars of return per dollar invested?
$56.50.
Nothing.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind putting $1 into something and getting $56.50 back.
I mean, this is obviously this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. This is the number 5 amount of money made by a Broadway musical in history. So this is not by far, this is not an unsuccessful show. And keep in mind, investors are also getting a return on all these other items, not just ticket sales. This is just in ticket sales. So this show is so unique, and a lot of these top shows are really unique shows. Some aren't, but I look at this and I think, why was something like Book of Mormon, which is a relatively controversial show, like it's not kid friendly, also Chicago, not kid friendly. So you have largely adults, and I would say it's tourism. There's some tourism around Book of Mormon, but not as much as Phantom Cats. Oh, Phantom Cats. That's a good idea for a show. But I think that's something that also those investors are taking a bigger risk.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Like, nobody knew the South Park guys could write musicals.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know if that's entirely true. They had a little, also not kid friendly
Cannibal.
film. Yes, But yeah, they were not. It was still. I think a big part of the draw was who are these newcomers? They're established names and they're writers and and I mean the South Park movie is a musical.
That's true.
But it's a very different format.
Yes.
I think because they were outsiders of the community, they brought in a lot of people who would not normally be seeing musical theater as well. So that comes to tourism, but also fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think fan base too is a little bit different than like New York City tourism, because like someone taking their kid to see the Statue of Liberty is a very different crowd than the people coming in from, Terre Haute to see the South Park guys musical,
Right.
Yeah.
etc. So, any guesses for the next show on the list?
Hello, Book of Mormon. Is
It
it
is.
older, newer?
It's newer-ish. It is the first of its genre on our list.
Is it Hamilton?
It is
Hamilton.
not. It is not. It is the first.
Come to Hamilton yet?
It's coming.
But I guess
This is the first jukebox musical on our list.
it's got to be Mamma Mia.
It is.
Or Jersey Boys?
No, it's Mamma Mia. You guys literally have, in this like sentence, this paragraph we just said, have said the next 2 musicals on the list, though. By the way. So Mamma Mia is next on our list. This is just the Broadway production again, not the production from the West End. And this is just the Broadway ticket sales for this. So initial investment in Mamma Mia was $10 million. And that seems like a lot to me for that day.
Yeah. For 1998?
Yeah. Whatever that was. I have it right here. I can look. But yeah, for Mamma Mia, opened in 2001.
Okay.
Which is also, that is, 2001 was not a great year for Broadway either. And it's interesting that that show opened and is still running in 2001. Like that's a tenacious little musical. And I think that thing that we were talking about last week, Paul, about shows happening at the right time. Like people didn't want to go see a gritty show in 2001 and into 2002 on Broadway. They wanted to see something that was a little trifle, a little trinket, a little piece of candy. And that is the best way to describe Mamma Mia I've ever heard.
And the familiarity, and at the time no one had done a really in that way had done a jukebox musical, and there was just so much, one of the shows that we didn't talk about last week in flops that I realized after the fact in my life, which ran for almost 6 months, almost exclusively on the "it's so ridiculous you have to see it" factor. And whoever did the marketing for that show is a genius, because on the marquee outside it said the most talked about show on Broadway. They weren't lying. So I think like a lot of Mamma Mia's initial like thing was that kind of, what on earth is this? But I love ABBA, let's go see.
Yeah, exactly. I think too, like Katie, we've done the show together, obviously.
We
Yeah.
have.
We have.
3 of us.
It's one of the best shows I've ever done. Like it's not like the best well-written show, but let me tell you, I grew up on ABBA with my mom, so it's special to me. And then like our cast was just amazing and I loved it.
It was. It's a good artistic staff. The cast was really great. But it was fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as
Yes.
much as Paul, I know you don't love ABBA.
That's not entirely accurate. I wouldn't say that I love ABBA, you're right, but I have no ill will toward ABBA.
But it's a fun show to do in addition to being a fun show to see. And I think it's very audience focused. So it doesn't surprise me that it's on this list. It does kind of surprise me that like a jukebox musical is one spot away from cracking the top 10 or the top 5, and it's not Jersey Boys. So that is surprising. So in its Broadway run, it has made, Mamma Mia, drum roll, $624,391,693.
So that's an easy $62.43.
62.43. So that puts it right now. It's not close to the most profitable right now. The Revival of Chicago is our most profitable, followed by Lion King, actually, believe it or not. So it's right now Chicago, followed by Lion King. Then after that is Phantom, followed by Wicked, then Mamma Mia, then Book of Mormon for profitability. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So the next show on our list we've mentioned, and we kind of did an entire episode dedicated to the current American obsession with the show. Hamilton is next. What do we think the initial investment is? Because this is a very contemporary show. We know kind of where those initial investments sit. What do you think the initial investment in Hamilton was?
My guess is that it didn't crack 15,000. It's a single set, and it is a brilliant set with moving parts and things, but it not incredibly, it doesn't rely on a lot of spectacle. The costumes are incredible, but also there aren't a ton of them. There wasn't a huge amount of star power that would have needed a lot of, I mean, there were powerhouses, but Hugh Jackman wasn't in it.
And Brian Darcy James didn't go past the public. He didn't stay
Right.
with the show, so.
Yeah, I guess John Groff might have been, aside from Lynn, might have been one of the biggest names in the original Broadway cast. Chris Jackson obviously was a huge deal, but that might just be like he was a huge deal in the Broadway community. I don't think he had really, yeah.
What do you think, Katie? Spitball.
10.
This was $12.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's high. It's higher than you would think it is, but it's turntables. So there is that.
Oh yeah.
Those turntables are expensive, just like lasers. Uh,
You do it.
so, Hamilton has not been running very long on Broadway, but it has cracked the top 10 for profitable shows on Broadway so far. So if we're looking at Hamilton, it's number 7 on our list, and it made $612,820,842 so far in its Broadway run.
So it has made $49.02 for every dollar invested.
So by far our least profitable musical on the list.
That is so surprising to me.
Well, when you consider that in 4 years, it's only about $7 behind Book of Mormon, which has had 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, that's it. It's the timeline because I was just like, look, they charge a lot for some of those tickets. I know. I've looked.
I bet
think
it's
they in less than a year.
They
which
did.
Is unheard of.
Yeah, Hamilton recouped in 8 months.
Like,
Yeah, Book of Mormon recouped also in 8 months. Mamma Mia recouped its initial investment in 7 months.
sheesh.
Yeah, there's only a few that publicize their recoup date, so I have a couple of those, but not many. Not as many as I would like.
Impressive.
Huh?
And they only do it when it's impressive.
Exactly. They're like, oh, in just 3.5 years, it recouped its initial investment. Huh. So next on our list is Jersey Boys.
I love that show.
I do too.
That's my grandma's favorite show she's ever seen. And she's seen it multiple times at this time.
That's hilarious. Well, she's responsible for some of these ticket sales then. It is the number 8 amount of money ever made in Broadway ticket sales. And the initial investment in Jersey Boys was just $8 million.
I was going to guess 8 or 9, yeah.
Yep. So 8 million for Jersey Boys. That seems, and it's not that long ago. That's the crazy thing. So think about how simple that production actually is compared to some of these other things that we're talking about. Like $8 million is a stunning amount of money, but in a very different year, Phantom of the Opera also cost $8 million. So
I would say most of their stuff comes from projections. They use a lot of projection stuff.
yeah.
Or at least on the tours. I've never seen it on Broadway. I should clarify. I've only seen it on the tours. So maybe they do it a little different.
I saw it a long time ago when it had first opened. And I don't remember them using a lot of projections, but that was when projections were just really starting to take off on Broadway. And I remember a lot of shows I saw around that time, I would sit there going, I see what you're trying to do. I don't know if the technology has caught up yet because it's more distracting than helpful. Where we are now, the technology has definitely caught up. But
Yeah, absolutely. So Jersey Boys in its initial Broadway run has made $558,416,092 in Broadway ticket sales.
sorry, give me that number again.
Yes, sir. Gotta do some dictating. Jersey Boys has made $558,416,092 in Broadway ticket sales.
Bringing them to $69.80.
Chump change.
Also, for the record, yes,
Yeah.
Phantom cost $1 million as well as so did Jersey Boys, adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, what year did Jersey Boys open? 08?
Let me look. Jersey Boys opened in 05. It has had 4,642 performances.
If Phantom had opened in the same year as Jersey Boys, it would have cost $13 million.
That is not surprising to me at all. Yeah, adjusted for inflation and profitability. Like they talk about this with box office numbers. The thing about Broadway is that these shows are all running for years and years and years. If you talk about like a movie and the initial run of a film, like Gone with the Wind is at such a high level of profit. Like they're like, oh, this Gone with the Wind is still in the top 10 for amount of money made by a movie, but they don't adjust those numbers for inflation. I don't know that any movie will ever sell more tickets than Gone with the Wind sold. Because if you're basing it just on dollars, you are doing it a huge disservice because that's a while ago now. Like 80 years. 80 years of inflation. So next on our list after Jersey Boys is Les Miserables.
Oh, yes.
Les Mis. Les Mis opened in 1997. Closed in 2003. It had 6,680 performances on Broadway. And the Les Mis initial investment is $900,000.
Wow.
That's it.
And it has made.
Ooh, it has made, and that's just the original run, no revival included. It has made $514,794,489.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
514 million.
Uh-huh.
And the initial investment was 900,000.
Yes.
Double checking my numbers. Les Miserables, for every dollar invested, made $571.11.
Wow. So they're doing okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Cam. Cameron. Macintosh kids.
Oh my goodness. So that's Les Mis. So so far, Les Mis is our number one, followed by Chicago with $262 per dollar invested. Les Mis is at $571 per dollar invested.
I can't believe it cost less than $1 million to put up.
It's amazing. It was the first show to do a standard tracking system, so they hired fewer actors. The costuming was largely inexpensive materials. There was not set dressing detail in most scenes, and there's no full sets. It was light. Light was high up on the list.
True.
Yeah.
Hurricane and the rotating stage. That was the whole. I mean, that was like why you went to Les Mis back in the '90s. I remember that they had a stage that moved. It was revolutionary. It was. I mean, like it was the first show to ever use a revolving stage, to be sure. But it was this phenomenon, and it had this giant barricade that revolved. I mean, you all know this show. You know what I'm talking about. It was. I'm just knock me over with a feather. $900,000. That blows my mind.
Yes. And of course, this did not open on Broadway initially. This was a transplant. So you do have some of those initial expenses that did not need to be done. Like this was what it cost to put up the Broadway show, but it is a separate set of investors than the West End show. So there you go. So next on the list, I think this one is going to be a little bit shocking as well, is Cats. Cats Now and Forever. So Cats opened in 1982 and it did close in 2000. Its initial run on Broadway was 485 performances. And its initial investment was $1 million.
So
So Cats has made in its initial run, that's not including the revival, it made $453,624,091. So that's
that's $450
$453.
to the for every dollar invested.
Yep. 453.62. It seems like the 80s and early 90s was the time to invest in the Broadway musical.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, that was the mega musical.
Yep. That's insane. There's only one other on the list that I think could top any of these shows that we've just discussed. There's one more show.
Oh.
Okay, so the next one on the list is Beauty and the Beast. What?
Paint Your Wagon, isn't it?
No. Sadly, no, it's not Paint Your Wagon. So next on the list is Beauty and the Beast. It's number 11 for the most ticket sales of a Broadway show in history. Beauty and the Beast. It opened in 1994, closed in 2007, had 5,461 performances on Broadway, which is insane. And the initial investment in Beauty and the Beast, and this was an unprecedented amount of money at the time, I got to say, it was $12 million.
Whoa. Well, also, did you see that original production? Not when it moved to the Lunt-Fontanne and scaled down. It was
career destroying.
Well, I remember sitting in that theater and thinking, how did they put a cartoon on stage?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the production photos from that original production. Unbelievable.
Well, they had two large-scale illusionists on staff on the design team who were actively working on the illusions for the show to make certain that the Disney magic was Disney magic. So, I mean, they didn't just hire engineers, they hired magicians.
Right. The for the longest time, the standing gig for kids on Broadway was like, I'll be playing Chip until I grow out of the mirror box.
Shh, don't tell them about the mirror box. Having played Mrs. Potts and having pushed a mirror box with just this arm, yeah, it was a nightmare. So I only ran that show for 8 weeks. I cannot imagine doing that show on Broadway for months. No way. But also, my teapot was so big, and this is just our production. My teapot was so big and heavy, they flew me into it. And they looked up what they did on Broadway because those costumes couldn't be hung up. But they're basically small set pieces that get put on a person. So they would put them in them, and they would fly them onto the performer, and then the performer would like open themselves up into it. So that's what they did to me. Crazy. So Beauty and the Beast cost $12 million to start. It's made quite a lot of money. Let's see. Katie, have you ever done Beauty and the Beast?
Unfortunately, no. I've directed children in it.
You got to do it. Girl.
I know. I want to be Mrs. Potts. Real bad, guys. Real bad.
Make a note of it.
It's on the wish list.
Casting directors, make a note. Okay,
I'm available.
Beauty and the Beast in its initial Broadway run and ticket sales made $429,158,458.
Which means it made $35.75 for every dollar spent.
So that is so far the least profitable musical on our list.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
only because of that initial investment, I think.
Yeah, and like that's the thing about Disney Broadway is that for them, recouping that initial investment is success. So that's all they need to do. Like, there's a few things that aren't on this list, or like Mary Poppins is on this list for like the top 20 most money made by a show. But the initial investment in Mary Poppins is so high that like it took them a full year to recoup their investment, and they made a ton of money, and it didn't run very long. But there are, hi. I'm great, thanks. Thank you. That was Jerry, everybody. Jerry's running to Maple City Market. Do you guys want anything? Katie?
Yes.
So that's the thing about these Disney shows, is that the initial investment is so high, then they don't care. Like, they have the money to spend and they want it to be spectacular, and it elevates the brand. So to them, it's going to be profitable whether or not, like, they don't have the same pressure that Boblil and Schoenberg have to recoup their initial investment and continue to make money off of their musical. So that is something. But yeah, Beauty and the Beast, Broadway failure. Next on our list is another Disney, and there are quite a few. There are 2 more Disney musicals on our list. The next one is Aladdin. Aladdin opened, let me look here. It opened in 2011. It's still running, so this one has the potential to still outstrip some of these other shows. How many performances has it run for so far? Aladdin has run, we don't actually have numbers on Aladdin for its show run numbers, but its initial investment was $10 million. That is lower than I thought it would be.
Yeah, when you consider the carpet effect alone.
Right. So $10 million is what they initially invested in Aladdin. There's a ton of magic in the show. The costumes are spectacular. When I think about it, though, Beauty and the Beast is older. Like, that musical opened in the 90s. That initial investment is an insane amount of money in the 90s. Also, there is not a unit set in the Beauty and the Beast Broadway musical. Like, there are sets for every single scene, and there are some numbers that have multiple sets. Like, Be Our Guest is in multiple locations. So that makes sense now when I kind of think about it, because Aladdin basically had what would be like a unit. What?
So many different costumes too.
Right. Yeah. So I think that now that I think about it, it does make sense, even though the effects in Aladdin are crazy. Have you seen Aladdin? Have you seen it, Katie, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen it at the Muni when they did it, and it was before Broadway opened their run of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, look, I love Aladdin. It's my favorite Disney movie, but it was interesting, the effects they had going. I was a little disappointed by the carpet effect, but it's probably improved since then for Broadway, y'all.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what they do on Broadway
In general.
Our genie was on like one of those upright what is it, a Segway or whatever. That's what he used to get around on stage at the Muni when they did it. It was strange.
Look, I mean,
I was like, what's happening right now?
The Mermaid had Heelys. Disney loves to experiment.
It's true. It's because they used up all their good underwater effects in Tarzan's opening 8 minutes.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. That's a whole discussion for another day.
Yes.
So Aladdin, $10 million initial investment, has made $432,471.
$40.94 to the dollar.
That's not terrible. It's better than Beauty and the Beast, though it is second to last on our list. These Disney musicals, that's something else.
But Aladdin hasn't closed yet either.
It's true. It's true. So the next one on our list is actually another 1990s musical. This is the heyday, as you know. This one has some potential, y'all. This is Miss Saigon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Miss Saigon.
I'd be interested to know about the initial investment because aside from the helicopter, I can't think what would be very expensive in that show.
It's a lot of trees. Miss Saigon opened in 1991, closed in 2001, had 4,092 performances on Broadway. The initial investment in Miss Saigon is not the lowest on this list, but it is the third lowest on this list. It is $4.5 million invested initially in Miss Saigon. And in its initial Broadway run, Miss Saigon made $322,103,948.
So it was pretty profitable. $71.58 to the dollar.
It's no Les Mis, but but that's what everybody says about Miss Saigon. Womp womp.
Funny because it's true.
Yeah, Les Mis is still our number one at $571 per dollar spent. But Miss Saigon's no slouch, $71.58. That puts it up there. So far, our most profitable Broadway shows. It's hard to beat these ones, but they are Les Mis, Cats, Chicago, and Phantom of the Opera. You've also got Lion King up there on that list. So that's so far. These are the most profitable for initial investment shows on Broadway. This next one I'm interested to see too. Next on the list is Kinky Boots.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, for ticket sales. Kinky Boots was an expensive show to open. And I think about that too. I haven't seen a lot of Kinky Boots. I've only seen like a few numbers. I saw the movie with Chiwetel Ejiofor. Ejiofor? Ejiofor. And he's incredible in it, so you should definitely watch it. But I have not seen the Broadway show. I've only seen isolated scenes. But they all seem to be set in different places.
Based on movie.
Yeah, and I know these are incredible costumes. A friend of mine did the out-of-town tryout in Chicago as a wardrober, and he said that they didn't do standard makeup because there were so many different makeup looks for it. They had like a membrane that fit the actor's face that had everything stitched in and painted on.
Wow.
So it was like a mask, so they could do like full, and then they would peel them off at the end of the night. Isn't that crazy?
That is awesome.
It's genius. But he said it looked like a horror movie set, like wardrobe afterwards. It's just all these faces.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. We should do a behind the scenes of Kinky Boots, but make it a horror film.
So Kinky Boots, let me look it up. Kinky Boots opened in 2013, closed in 2019. It had 2,500 performances on Broadway, and its initial investment was $13.5 million. So that's a pricey show to do. 13.5 million, and it made $318,990,092.
Okay, well, certainly not our most profitable at $23.63.
Ooh, that might be the loser so far. Kinky Boots, what a flop.
But again, only 6 years compared with Katz's 18, Phantom 30.
Exactly. Next on the list is Mary Poppins. And this is just a Broadway run that opened in 2006, closed in 2013, had 2,619 performances on the Broadway. The initial investment in Mary Poppins, the 15th most popular show on Broadway for ticket sales ever, initially invested $15 million in Mary Poppins. And Mary Poppins made $294,558,648 in ticket sales.
Bringing it to, all right, well, Kinky Boots is no longer the least profitable. $19.63 per dollar spent.
Now, don't get me wrong. If I handed someone $1 and they handed me $19.63, I wouldn't be mad about it. However, it's shocking. It's shocking how little a return on investment there is, particularly for these Disney shows.
Right. Well, I think what you said was very, very astute, and it's not for them. Broadway does not have to be a profit center. They are profiting. Let us not, let's disabuse ourselves of any idea that Disney is struggling on Broadway. But I think it really is about that global brand that Disney is everywhere. And, Frozen, for example, did not do as well, I think, as everyone expected. It was the film was written by musical theater writers, which is, I think, one of the biggest things that contributed to its success. And they were not expecting the film to be a huge deal either, which I find very interesting. That there wasn't a lot of hype and excitement around that film, and then it just exploded so organically to the point that I remember I actually was in Disney World a year after that movie came out, or within the first year, but it was a while, and they didn't have any Frozen merchandise because they didn't pre-order enough. They couldn't make it fast enough. As soon as they got an order in, it was gone. The only thing that they could sell was CDs of the soundtrack and DVDs of the movie, because you could make that quickly and easily.
Yeah, it's like Baby Yoda.
Broadway, knowing that they had this product, and it did not, and that's not saying anything against that production. I didn't get to see it. It looked stunning. The people who were in it, I know, are all incredibly talented and did a great job with the material. So it's very interesting. But the point is that they could afford that because of Aladdin and The Lion King and so on.
Right. Well, Frozen did not make this list for top ticket sales, obviously. So, I mean, you got to think about what that initial investment is, and was it recoupable? Because Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark is in the top 25 of top ticket sales shows of all time. But with a $75 million initial investment, it was not recoupable. So next on the list, not a Disney show, but another adaptation. This one shocked me a little bit that it's this far down on the list, to be honest. Can you guys think of a show that was like a runaway Broadway hit? Everybody was talking about it, and you haven't heard it on this list yet.
I mean, like, I'm trying to think in more modern terms, just because
it was within your lifetime.
Because adjusted for inflation, I think that Fiddler and a Chorus Line give a lot of these shows a run for their money.
Sure.
Within my lifetime, runaway hit. Oh, I think I talked about it earlier in this episode.
Did you?
Was it Rent?
No.
That surprised me.
Yeah, that hasn't been on the list yet either.
I think it's just wishful thinking that I want to say Once, just because I love Once.
Oh.
I don't really think it's on the list.
It's not.
But I think it should be.
This is actually the show, this one, that reformatted the pricing structure of Broadway musicals as we know it.
The Producers.
Yes. I knew I could give you one little tidbit and it would get you there. Boop. It's a little tidbit. So The Producers run on Broadway. Da-da-da-da-dee. Producers opened in 2001, closed in 2007. It had 2,502 performances on Broadway, and it made $288,361,724 in ticket sales. So the initial investment in the producers, again, at this time, this was kind of an unheard of amount of money, was $10.5 million.
So, towards the bottom of the list, they made $27.46 on every dollar.
So again, this is one of those shocking things. Like, investing in the Broadway stage is risky, one. And I'm sure these people are delighted that the producers gave them nearly $30 to the dollar invested, or whatever their arrangement was. They profited, though. They got their money back and they made some money on it. So it seems like, oh, this is a great way to invest money. The fact is,
watching, it is a great way to invest money. Call me.
the Regano Songbook coming to Broadway 2022. I just put that out there for you. 2022. So $27.46 that's no slouch. But this show was like the runaway hit of its time. And everybody had to get tickets, and you had to see the initial Broadway production with the original cast and all. Like, everybody knows who Nathan Lane is. Everybody knows who Matthew Broderick is. So it was, got to do it, got to see it. And
everyone knows who Mel Brooks is.
Yes, and had seen the original movie.
Yeah.
It is shocking to me that it is middling to low on our list of profitable musicals. So the last one that we're going to talk about today is Rent. Rent. Any thoughts on the initial investment on this show?
I'm guessing it's somewhere around $6 million.
Okay.
That's my guess, because it was not expected to do incredibly well. It was this weird new show. It was almost like Passing Strange level. Like, what is this new thing?
Yeah.
So I don't think a lot of people were eager to throw money at it. So I'm guessing $6 million. It's also like everyone's wearing one or two outfits in the entire show, and
it's jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah.
What do you think, Katie? What's your best guess?
Yeah, I was gonna go with somewhere between like 7.5 and like 5.
I like both of those guesses. So Rent, I'm gonna do a reveal. Rent opened on Broadway in 1996, closed in 2008, had 5,123 performances on Broadway, and it made $274,248,128 in ticket sales. And its initial investment, $75,000.
What? That's so low.
Making it our big winner.
I'm ready.
$3,656 for every dollar invested. Where was I when they were looking for investors? I never would have put money in that show. I would have been right there with everybody else who thought it was going to be gone in a year.
Yeah, there was I saw an interview with a guy who said he was one of the initial investors and put $5,000 into it and is still living off of it.
I mean, he put $5,000 times 300.
3,000.
656. Yeah, I can imagine you'd still be living off of that.
So the number one Broadway musical in history is Rent.
The number one most profitable, yes.
Oh, sorry. So interesting stuff, I think. So number 2, and this kind of is no surprise, is Cats. Number 2 is Cats at $453.62. That's an unheard of amount of money. Number 3. Oh, Paul's initial guess. Chicago at $262.40 per. Oh, wait, I missed one. So it's number 4. I know. $571 per is Les Mis. So Les Mis is number 2. That is incredible. And then, so that's number 4, 262. The next one is, there's a big gap there. 155, Phantom of the Opera. Nope, 166, Lion King. So Lion King is the number 5 most profitable show on Broadway. That's
very interesting.
Yeah. I am stymied for some reason in my mind, and I know this is crazy, but I kind of equate Rent and Hamilton in concept and initial idea, or like what initial investment would look like. To me, those two things seem very similar. Like it's an adaptive unit set. It's like contemporary through sung material. It's anachronistic for Hamilton. Like, and then the costumes are not insanely elaborate for Hamilton. So for some reason, I kind of put them. I put Rent higher on the list, and I put Hamilton lower. Like, I don't know.
You know what's interesting is like I would say most of those shows, Rent is the most humanistic. It talks about real issues, which is interesting because we've talked about like people in their time not wanting that kind of show, but it did the best. So
what's crazy, number 1 is Rent. Number 2 is Les Mis, which is Rent in a different time period.
and a vastly different. What I find interesting is that Rent took a well-known opera and took the story and everything, all the pathos that came with it, and translated it into a modern setting.
Yeah.
And with modern people problems, and definitely modern music. Whereas Les Mis took a novel, also a classic, but not. I don't think Les Miserables, the novel, was such, was as big as Poem, and took that and musically did something so different, which was really tried to recreate that classic sound using contemporary musical vocabulary.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably something to be said about mixing the old with the new.
Yeah, I agree completely. One interesting thing I just realized our entire top 5 has in common. They're all adaptations.
Next week on the Ocean Theater Table Talks.
They're all, every single one of them, an adaptation. One of them based on real people. Chicago, if you guys don't know that, is real human beings. These were real people. A lot of folks are not aware of that. Les Mis, not real people, but literary characters. Cats, based on that book of poems with personified cats. Rent, based on the opera. And obviously, Lion King, personified cats.
So animals, adaptation, anachronism, the 3 A's.
The 3 A's of Broadway profitability.
Yes. I don't know if anachronism is really the word I'm looking for, but it starts with A, so I went with it.
That's what you should do for your dissertation for your doctorate.
Triple A, how to make money on Broadway.
Yeah.
I love it. Any surprises from our list, panel?
I think the investment on rent is kind of surprising to me, but also not. Like, we thought it would be higher, but we're not. I mean, yeah, we're still surprised at how low it went.
I mean, I think as soon as like we both like said what we thought it was, and like by industry standards today, 6 million is pretty low.
That's probably what it would cost today.
Right. But as soon as like it was right when you were like in its original production, I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm way off. It's gonna be less than $1 million, isn't it? But that much less than $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
I can't even consider. And I mean, everyone in the cast was unknown. It was what, 12 people, and they were all unknown kids. So we're talking about equity minimum.
Yep. Yeah, and they were also a runaway hit in their last workshop in the off-Broadway show. So the initial investment could be lower because they had off-Broadway money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that made Rent sort of the sweet spot for profitability. That's another equation
Also,
with Hamilton, though. Like that off-Broadway, that run at the Public, they move over.
I think there's definitely a what's the word I'm looking for? You know, it's a through line that can be drawn from Chorus Line to Rent to Hamilton.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree completely. Chorus Line's not on this list, which is shocking to me. But I bet if we did a little bit of a deeper dive into some of these shows, like per dollar spent, like I don't know what the initial investment in Oklahoma was. Like, obviously,
Less than $1 million.
yeah, exactly. The horse was the most expensive thing. But we could take a big Broadway deep dive because I only did this based on the top ticket sales. There might be some shows out there that we did not analyze today that might top Rent in profitability.
I mean, the Fantastics. It's not
Yeah.
Broadway, it's off Broadway, but it ran for 40 years.
And that cost like a quarter.
Yeah.
Like 25 cents was the initial investment. Everybody just wore what they were wearing and they just had to pay for the photocopies.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And when did that close?
2001.
So it ran
And
for
in like 05 or 06 or something at the Snapple Theater Center.
Yeah.
So 42 years, 41 years. It
Wow.
opened in 1960, 41 years.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts.
6 people in the cast. Is that right?
Yeah.
Something like
The 2 dads, the 2 kids, El Gallo and that other dude.
the two actors.
Yeah.
Oh, and the mute. So 8 people. Still a very small cast. No set. I mean, it's all done with props and found object kind of stuff.
Yep.
3 musicians. I mean,
that's up there. Yeah.
When I in the late 90s, towards the end of the run, I think the audience only barely outnumbered the people on stage.
Yeah.
But again, it was all profit at that point. Anyway.
The other interesting thing is, and this is kind of a conversation for another time, but one of the things that is part of the engine of Broadway profit is the franchising that actually exists with Broadway. So we said that this is just Broadway ticket sales. If we talk about the most profitable franchises on Broadway, that's kind of the same list, but it is a little bit different. This is worldwide revenue. There is one big surprise on this list for me. Top 10. Number 10, Starlight Express.
Oh, yeah.
For worldwide revenue. It has made, what is it $1,200,000,000?
Makes sense. It opened in
84.
1904. Came to Broadway. It was doing well in the West End, so they brought it to Broadway, and Broadway was like, "Why does this go away?"
Why?
And it absolutely flopped on Broadway. It continued running in the West End into the 2000s.
Yeah. Yep, Beauty and the Beast is number 9 on the list, with 1,600,000,000. At this point, they stopped getting real specific with the digits on the other side. Jersey Boys number 8, with $1,644,000,000. Miss Saigon number 7, 1,636,000,000. Mamma Mia number 6 at $2 billion, $86,000,000. Les Mis, $2,708,000,000. Cats, $2,865,000,000. Wicked, $3,530,000,000. Phantom of the Opera worldwide has made $6,060,000,000, and The Lion King worldwide has made $8,251,000,000. $8 billion. It still sits at the top at 8.2 billion. I cannot believe that there is limited data available for this worldwide gross ticket sales revenue. This is also not merchandising. This is just ticket sales revenue. That's it. It is shocking to me. So that's tours and sit downs, but that amount of money, like the gross domestic product of a country. there's Lion King has made enough money to give every person on earth alive today $1.
It's a very good way to put it.
Crazy. So yeah, so that's our discussion today, this week for Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks. It will be heavily edited, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll do a blooper reel at some point, but a lot of it was us trying to do math.
We're actors. We're actors, musicians.
We got it. We figured it out eventually, but we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Next week, we're going to talk about adaptations, and we're going to go to a new format next week. I decided during this conversation, we're all going to bring our top 5s.
I like that.
In a few categories. So we're going to discuss hot takes for the whole episode, top 5 adaptations in a few different categories. And that is what next week's episode is going to be. Please tune in, join us again. As always, thank you to Goshen Noon Kiwanis for their contribution to Goshen Theater Drama Club. And send us your questions, comments, and all of your different ideas for episodes. We would love to hear from you. Also, Paul, I know that you're not really a regular panelist here, but do you want to join us next week for the episode on adaptations? What do you think?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to reschedule with my acupuncturist, but I can probably squeeze in.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in. And we hope that you join us next week. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye, friends.